Hi, everybody. I'm Sherri Saum, and I am joined by my wonderful co star, James Denton.
Thanks. And we're really excited for all of you to see our new movie, Perfect Harmony. That comes out this weekend on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. But I think we're going to play the question game right now. Is that right, Sherry?
I think you're right.
Right.
I hope I get them right.
Oh, yes, we have them. We have a whole list here, so it's going to be great. So you want to go
Okay,
first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay, so in Perfect Harmony, I play Barrett, and James, you play Jack. And their best friends ask them to be in their wedding. But Barrett and Jack have not gotten along in over 10 years. So, what's it like for them to team up for their friends' nuptials?
It takes us 88 minutes to answer this question. What's it like? Well, it's like a movie. Um, but no, I thank you for the question. It's hard because what I like about it, and I hope you agree, Sherry, is it's not just one of those things where in the beginning they say, "Oh, these people can't stand each other; they're oil and water," and you don't really know why. So we get to see the flashbacks of them remembering the night
Yeah.
they met and why each of them has this memory of the other one as being this monster. So that's kind of fun. I like the fact that they don't just throw it out but they explain it, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
agreed. Agreed. Yeah, it's well earned.
yeah. So it's fun because you get to see both of them, not exactly accurate memory of the day they met. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it's tough because they have never liked each other and they have these preconceived notions. I think she's a snob. She thinks I'm shallow, and we've got to pull off making this wedding happen. So yeah, that's the hilarity ensues after that. So anyway, I'm a rock star. I play a rock star, like kind of a pop star, more of a bad Jack Johnson, who believes in being spontaneous. And Sherry plays Barrett, a poetry professor who likes everything planned. Um, Although these two are opposites, what are each of our favorite qualities about them? I'm not sure exactly what the question is. Probably are what we like about our own characters, maybe. I
Oh,
think.
I saw it the opposite.
Okay, well, good. Well, then go ahead. Please? What's your favorite quality about them?
Well, my favorite part about Jack is that he doesn't take himself so seriously, and he's able to put his work, his art out there, regardless of the judgment that might come his way. And he lives for the moment, and that's something that I think the Barrett character, envies and
Yeah,
longs for.
I think that's well. I agree, and I can say that because it's Jack, not about me. But I agree that one of the great things about Alicia's script, Alicia Lomas Gross, is that you really see pretty clearly what attracts these people to each other and what they admire because they sort of lack a little bit. Like the way Barrett, the character Barrett, has been rejected often in publishing and trying to share her work as a poet, and she's just done, right? She's not doing it anymore. And Jack can understand why. What's the big deal? Because he's just used to pouring it out there because he's been mocked his whole career. He got one
Yeah.
more song of the decade, right? So he's able to help her realize that it's worth the risk, right? The
Yes,
great
and that's
seed
not
will,
the end of the world if someone doesn't like your music or your art.
because there's always somebody who's going to like it. There's always
Yes.
somebody who's going to get it,
Yeah.
and that's I think a great one of my favorite scenes. It's a great message for Barrett to realize, oh yeah, there'll be people that because nobody runs to the internet. It's like us. Nobody runs to the internet to compliment you. Really, it's pretty rare. So those people are going to be there, but that doesn't mean that those lonely people didn't get it. It didn't get through,
Exactly.
and so I think Jack trying to convince her that it's worth the risk. And conversely, one of my favorite things about Barrett on paper, and then even more so, by the way, you played her, Sherry, is the gravitas, the sincerity. I mean, she's a formidable intellect, and she's very self assured. Like the part about why you've never been married. There's no there's no whining, and there's not like, oh, poor thing's never been married. And she didn't need it. She's
Right.
yeah. And then she's never met anybody she couldn't live without, and so why settle? And she's got this self-assured quality that you have as an actress too that made it so much fun for my character who's just goofy old man hair and like kind of loose, doesn't really look in the mirror. He's just, and then he meets this woman who's so together, at least outwardly, and then to
Mm-hmm.
realize that she's got these actually very attractive human foibles, makes her, I think, such a fun character. Yeah. Yeah. Your turn.
Okay, my turn. So Barrett gets Jack out of retirement, and he gets her to agree to give a gift of a song at their friend's wedding. How does performing together impact their relationship?
Well, it forces them to be in the same room, first of all, and not just pretend they like each other, but try to be creative together, right? Otherwise they could just you schedule the band, I'll buy the food, see you at the wedding. No, we have to actually spend a lot of time together preparing.
Exactly. And I love the fact that it's because it's for such a great cause, because we do love our friends so much. It's not something we can just throw the towel in and just say, forget it, I'm not doing this. We love them so much. So it comes from our heart. We really need this to work.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, and there's actually a line that got cut from that scene where I Jack asks Barrett or offers, we'll write a song for your wedding. And Barrett's like, well, we will. um, and there was a line in that scene, I don't know if you remember, Sherri, where Jack said, oh, come on, we're not writing a chart topper. We're just writing something from our heart for our friends.
yeah.
And it got cut for a few reasons, one of which it felt like it belittled the gift a little bit, but also just time. But that's sort of his opinion it was like, this isn't a big deal, but we decided it's much more interesting if it is a big deal. And Jack is trying to force her to publish something. Yeah, so it made it much more interesting, and that was a John Askins cut. No surprise at all. But yeah. Yeah. Okay, Barrett wants to conquer her stage fright with karaoke. How does Jack help encourage her singing and support her sharing her poetry?
Whew, well, the karaoke. Oh gosh, yeah. Well, Barrett never had the support and the encouragement from people in her innermost circle. And to have Jack literally standing right there, even though his feelings for her at that point are still, they're not, they haven't turned that corner yet. But to have him standing there, kind of lending her his belief, kind of, and you see it in that scene, you see her kind of literally physically come out of the shell because he's basically holding her hand through the entire thing. And it's a huge moment for Barrett to experience that kind of support when she's had so precious little of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because she's not interested in being a singer, so it's not that, she's just so, I feel like, self-conscious about sharing anything personal because of the rejection she's had in her past. And so for Jack, that's like karaoke. What's that when you've sung big concerts? But he sees it. And I love that you were so perfect in the beginning of that, trying to just get off the ground with this song, and you're kind of in over your head a little bit at the very top.
I love it so much. It's so, it just in so many ways, because Sherri, as the actor up there, I was nervous. I'm not a singer. I'm not that kind of a performer. And you are, James, in your own right, for sure. And just having you there, believing in me, just it was everything. So
that's really, so, isn't it funny how sometimes those, not this sort of corny art imitates life, but we were able to kind of have the same experience where, not like, because I'm not a singer. I've done enough of it, like for charity and things like that I'm not terrified. But that day it was fun because I knew it was the first time, and people don't really understand that you're still getting up and singing like in front of a crew.
Exactly.
There are 100 people in that room. It's not like you're alone. So it was fun to kind of watch you. And I told you it's one of my favorite scenes in my, 400 years in the business. That scene, because it's so everything tied up in there. So yeah, I think it's a big scene in the movie where you see it happen. I mean, you kind of see two people fall in love, I think, right there. And then, like I said, we hope it's not too early, because there's a lot of movie left, but there's some conflict and some bumps in that road.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah.
So Jack's son Teddy is also Barrett's student, and he's played by your son Shepherd.
Yes, yes.
Shepherd Denton. What was it like getting to work with Shepherd again?
It was the best. It was, I said before, it was the best month of my career. I got to work with him twice. Once he was just 12. In fact, he turned 13 during that shoot in 2015. It was a very different role. He didn't play my son, and he was a little kid. His voice hadn't even changed yet. So this was as you saw, this is a grown up. I mean, this is some real father-son stuff. And we actually lifted a couple of scenes from real life from the two of us living together and conversations we had had. So it was great because it's a good script anyway, a great script. It was a fun character, but to actually have your own son hitting you with that stuff, Sherri, when it was like when he throws down the journal and comes around and goes, what I think is you're not mad at her, you don't want to face how you feel, and just really lets his dad have it.
Yeah.
And it was hard to get Shepard to do that, just because I think it would have been easier for him if I wasn't his dad, or if I weren't his dad. So it was fun I had to kind of prod him, like, no, let me have it, don't hold back. I think he was afraid I was going to ground him or something. But anyway, it was as you can imagine, it was a gift.
And then, but how was Shepard's experience? Does he want to keep doing that?
It's funny. He's so self-critical that he watched the cut and he really loves the movie, which I was relieved, because that's hard for him to do. But he really doesn't have much interest. He's a musician, so he's got a lot of music on Spotify. Shepard Denton, check him out. And he's much more interested in that, I think, and he feels like that's a little more within his control, because he can produce it all, put it out, and hope somebody finds it. Whereas, with acting, it's, you have no control. So I think he likes the fact that with his music, he can put it out at least. And also, in living in Minnesota, now he goes to college in Tennessee. It's tough. So yeah. I don't see much acting in his future, which is a shame, because I think he's good.
Well, he has a bright future no matter what he does, because he's so beyond his years and so wise and so talented. So.
Wow. Well, that's really sweet of you. I'll tell him you said so. It'll mean something to him. So Jack's been through some heartache, losing his wife to cancer. How does Barrett help Jack open his heart again?
Oh, gosh. Well, I think that Jack feels kind of like he's been put out to pasture, even if it's by his own doing, that he's a relic, and that he doesn't have anything really more to give. And I think that finding that connection with someone, even the most unlikely of connections, considering their past and their animosity toward each other, he finds, that spark again. And, even through just mentoring her, guiding her through her own fears and her trepidations about her sharing her work and sharing, her soul, I think it kind of reanimates him and just,
yes.
Shows him that connection is possible again. Even when you think one part of your life is over, it can begin, another part can begin. So.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think that Barrett seems to pick up on the fact that some of Jack's trepidation is disrespect, or seeming disrespect, for his wife's memory or for what they had, and not knowing how to move forward. Absolutely. And I think Barrett's so open about being supportive of that and encouraging whatever those feelings are after 10 years. There are a couple of scenes where that happens, and that I didn't really realize as much on paper. The scene of the trunk of the car, when Barrett says, well, that's where it should stay. It's so grounded and right at him, and it's not at all said to make him feel better. It's a statement of fact. Well, if that's how you feel, then and then also when she admires Jeannie's work, yes. The wife's work.
I just got goosebumps. You're so correct, and that's what I love about this film as well, is that it's such a relatable thing. So many people have been through this in one way or the other and feel that guilt, or can I move on, or they just want to freeze that time and not touch it again. And you're so dead on. I think that was.
Oh, well, thanks. And he's right. The people get stuck, and it's understandable in dealing with them by disrespecting them if I move on. And so, of course, Teddy helps with that. But I just feel like Barrett gave him the license to realize, because it says so much about her as a person, like in that scene in front of the picture, where it's like, oh my God, that's a picture Jeannie took of you. And just a very honest comment about how talented she was. And there's no threatening, there's no insecurity. It's like, this is your life, and it's all okay. And nobody had ever said that to Jack, or he hadn't been willing to hear it. So it came. Right on. It's a big deal. And I think you're right. I think it's a great point. People can relate to it, because everybody goes through it, whether it's death or divorce.
Exactly.
Moving on is tough.
Right. Barrett and Jack start to really open up and support one another as they spend more time together, from singing karaoke to making wedding favors. Without giving any spoilers, can we each share our favorite scene?
Start to open up and support each other. Oh, and from the movie. It's tough. Being a producer on this, if I haven't mentioned yet, I was an executive producer. Watching it 5,000 times, John Eskins, who I mentioned before, is one of the other primary executive producers. he and I talked every day, and we just delivered a couple of weeks ago. But we had a conversation yesterday about it's just good scene after good scene after good scene, and I can say that because I'm not in all of them. But it is, and we talked about really turning up the romance because and the act breaks are all really good. Like so many times at an act break, you're like, it's a weird time to go to commercial. But this movie, they make sense and they leave you wanting more. So it's hard to pick because one we haven't even mentioned is that poetry slam. That's a really sweet scene where Jack gets up and improvises poetry to with Barrett in the audience, just on a whim, and accidentally stumbles down this rabbit hole of emotion and starts, kind of letting all this stuff out about how he apparently feels about her that he didn't really know and she didn't know. It's a fun scene to watch that happen, I think. And your reaction is so good.
Well, you just stole it.
You're just sitting there and feel like, is this about me? And is this weird? And I love that scene.
You stole it. That's mine. That's my favorite scene.
Please go ahead.
On paper, I was like, how is this going to play? Is this going to be, I don't know. And I felt that it was the most organic. It just came from your heart. So that me sitting there in the seat watching you was me sitting there in the seat watching you going, how is he doing this? It was so beautiful. So I think that was my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Wow.
You were vulnerable and, just like I said, so organic, and it just made it for me.
Well, that's wildly generous. I appreciate it. I think the reason it felt that way was that John and I wrote the poem while we were setting up the shot. So we really did. I mean, we had one on paper that felt like it wasn't quite right. Alicia did a good job, and John rewrote it. And then I wrote it. I went through and thought, this needs to be something that can just come off of the top of Jack's head.
Yep.
It can't be too cute. Some of it rhymes, some of it didn't.
Yep. At the end, that's right.
At the end, he kind of gets into a songwriting thing, and he does start rhyming it. But we thought the trick was he's not going to get up there and say that voluntarily, but it's like the toothpaste was out of the tube, right? Exactly. Once it started down that road, it's like, well, I'm in now. I need to go ahead so I'm really glad you liked it too, because I was worried about that scene. I was worried about it working, about it being hokey, about it being believable that he would say that stuff.
Yeah, it completely was. And I love the way you backpedaled when Barrett asked you in the scene. Yeah. And you just came up with that, and the way you almost admitted that you did. But
yes. It's like he wanted Barrett to know he meant it, but he didn't have the guts to say that's about you. Yeah. So anyway, we hope you like the scene. I'm glad you did. Okay. I'm going to jump down to 10 because that's for you. And this is your first Hallmark movie, Sherri. Since your character is an incredible poet, can you choose 3 words to describe your Hallmark experience?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, this is not extremely original, but if I had to pick just 3 words, I would say beyond my imagination.
Ah, I love that.
True.
Yeah, I was so happy to. We've talked about this before that, none of us, the guys on the crew and the team, didn't know you personally and just knew your work, and we were like, well, we know she can do it, but does she want to? She's not. Because all the Hallmark people are returned. They come back and over like myself. So it was like, will she want to do it? And does she sing? And so we were kind of very excited that when you came back and said, that she would do it. I thought, oh, good. Maybe her Meemaw has told her she always wants to see her in a Hallmark movie. But also, the viewership is great. Hallmark is a great place to work. They treat people well. And I'm glad that, I'm glad as a producer, John and I were very happy that you had fun.
Oh my goodness. And again, this is my first Hallmark movie, also my first romantic comedy. I'm always kind of skewing towards drama, and so to have Stefan Skaney there to like reel me back or push me forward, and just every note he gave, fixed what I was missing, and I just can never thank him enough for that guidance. It was amazing.
He's amazing. And for people that don't know, he directed a few Good Witch episodes, so we chose him specifically, and just like Jack Lynn's, the music director, who was, as you know, the lifesaver. But we really wanted that team, some of the Good Witch team that we knew were the right people. And yes, Stefan was just, of course, it was easier for you. It's more natural for you than you think. the comedy was so good. But he is one of those people that when you do have a problem, he's pretty great at a quick note to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, to wrap up, because we've kept you a while, we have to do our rapid fire thing, Sherri.
Yes.
The this or that. But it's perfect harmony inspired this or that. So let's see. You want me to just run through them?
Yeah.
Since you're.
Well, they were both going to answer.
Oh, yeah. But I'll
Yeah.
throw it out, and then we both have to answer. I'll throw it out, and then you answer. Or if you don't know for sure, just pass. I haven't looked at these because I didn't do my homework, but I think
Okay.
I think that's the point, though. It's supposed to be. Yeah. Okay. All right. Here they are. First, would you rather be a part of a team or work solo?
Solo.
Me too. Why do you think that? Are we control freaks or just? I think
I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert. I do everything kind of in here, so it's easier for me that way.
I think so. Me too. I don't know. That's interesting. Anyway, would you rather read poetry or listen to music?
That's a listen to music.
Yeah, me too. I like poetry, but it's hard to find good poetry. Even if you look at it, if it were read a book or listen to music, yeah, I think we're both music fans, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you listen to right now? I'm reading the script.
What's that?
I'm running off script. What are you listening to right now?
Billie Eilish.
Well, my daughter would love that. Okay. Would you rather, speaking of, sing karaoke or go to a poetry slam? Are there poetry slams?
I don't know that I could find one if I tried, but no. I think karaoke.
Yeah, people have asked me about, as I've been promoting this, what my go-to karaoke, and I don't sing. I mean, I've gotten up and sung karaoke, but it was a long time ago. Do you get up and sing karaoke? Do you do it?
I do.
Wow.
Yeah. In the right situation, it can be fun. I did it once in Japan, which is, the hotbed of karaoke.
Yes, home of karaoke.
And they take it very, very seriously over there.
Wow.
So it was a little nerve-wracking, but it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Karaoke.
All right. Go on a Oh, this is very Perfect Harmony inspired. Would you rather go on a scavenger hunt or go to a concert?
Concert, less
easy.
Walking.
Yeah, that's easy. I have no interest. I didn't. Well, I'll let that go. I was going to comment on the scavenger hunt scene, but some things I felt about that. So, to their credit and your credit, the scene works. There is a fun scavenger hunt, but I'll let you see that Sunday night. Cupcakes or cookies?
Whew. Cookies.
Yeah, me too. Not a cupcake guy. And then the same. This isn't on there, but I'm going to ask it: pie or cake?
Oh gosh. Pie?
I bet if you're not a cupcake person, you're probably the same with me. I'm a pie person.
Yeah.
So cookies and pie. If you're sending Sherri sweets, cookies and pies, I'm sure she'll eat them. A joint bachelorette party, of which I've never heard, or separate.
Separate.
Gotta be. Yeah. Does anybody have them together?
I have never been to one of those.
Only in Hallmark movies.
I guess so.
Yeah. At a wedding, are you on the dance floor or at the photo booth?
I'm on the dance floor.
Come on. You will find me at neither. I will be at the bar watching Sherri dance, and so I don't think I'd be either. But anyway, I think that's all we got.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you everyone for joining us. And I really cannot wait for you to watch our new movie, Perfect Harmony. And when is it airing, Jed?
Well, that is Sunday night, October 16th on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries at 9, 8 Central.
Fantastic. And please tweet along while you watch using #PerfectHarmony.